put this conference on simply because mental health in the Black community is such a taboo subject. Even in 2023, it's something that we still push under the carpet. We don't talk about. We say it's a white man's problem. It doesn't exist for us in the Black community. And yet still we overrepresent every single psychiatric ward in England. The venue is absolutely amazing. It's St. Mary's Church at the Moor. And what I love about it is the space is large enough to hold 200 people, but they've got breakout rooms, but we've also got a quiet room because there are going to be a lot of emotive topics today. People might get triggered, so it's nice to know that they've got somewhere where they can go and sit quietly.
Today my talk is going to be about inpatient wards, so talking about psychiatric inpatient wards. And my plan is to give bit of a summary about why it's important for us to think about it in the Black community, but then to also talk about how wards, which are meant to be places of healing, where people who are unwell or struggling are looked after, a place of safety, a place of treatment and kindness, often become places that are actually further traumatizing. And I'm hoping today to just give some ideas. They're not necessarily an explanation as such, but more some ideas of how we might understand what could be going on there.
Knife and gun crime impacts beyond all communities and can impact us all in different ways. It directly impacts mental health. People that have been victims are potentially always living that worry. Am I going to be a victim of knife crime again? Perpetrators, I've used a knife crime, is the knife going to be used on me? And then you've got the wider community, friends, families, schools, workplaces. The worry that can come with knife crime, because the impact of a knife crime is so devastating.
Well, today has been a quite heavy session in terms of learning, sharing and just development of mental health in general. I work in mental health. It's the field I work in, something I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with people talking about their traumas. But I think today, on a personal level, being able to listen to people very raw in a community that I would call my community, because I'm Black and majority of everyone here today is Black and of African descent. It felt more real. I felt more able to connect, and I was able to reflect on my own past experiences that I would usually not have done on my day-to-day work. And just maybe for one time think about my own experience of mental health, and my own bias as well.
Describe your distress so that people really understand that you're not just saying, I'm not feeling well, but actually I'm not feeling well to the point where you need to intervene. You need to get me somewhere. It's the same thing that we need to do. We have to know our history.
My experiences from my own home background led me down a path that would affect the wider community in a negative way. So as a result of that, I thought it was, but I've obviously managed to reel it in, turn it around and turn it into something positive. So I think the value of sharing that experience so that people that are going through it can also understand that they're not alone. People have also been through it, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel to turning it around and making it into something positive.
The delegates have come from all over. They've come from London, Manchester, Birmingham, but more importantly, we have our homegrown delegates. We have our Sheffield people representing in this place today, not just taking up a seat, but they're going to be speaking and sharing. So today we've got professionals speaking today, but we've also got E-by-Es, experts by experience, who are people who are not professionals, but they have lived experience of mental health or lived experience of trauma. We've got volunteers speaking today. We've got the police, the violence reduction unit. We've got Sheffield Flourish, who will be rounding things off at the end to let people know where to go if you need help. We've got some young speakers today, because it's important that we let them have a voice.
I believe the LGBT plus community within the Black community is like a subsection of a subsection. I also believe that like the general oppression a lot of Black people face, especially in the UK, like African migrants in the UK, that it takes us a bit further away from having the time and mental space to hold that compassion for our queer brethren.
As we spoke about in the conference, we have been conditioned into thinking for society to perceive us as professional or as proper, we need to have a hair that appeases to the colonizer mindset. So we need to have Eurocentric looking hair, we need to have straightened hair, or we need to wear wigs so that we can look good to society. What I was trying to prove today was that the only people we need to appease is ourselves, our lineage, our culture, and our ancestors. And by doing that, we strengthen ourselves, we strengthen our community, and the opinions of others become less and less important.
Racism is another pandemic, and at the moment, the denial of racism is a cancer in a society and in our system because many people are impacted who are from diverse ethnic communities.
And according to the National Abuse Charity Refuge, as a black woman, I'd be 14% less likely to be referred by the police to their support services than a white woman.
My message to parents is that watch what your kid is doing, watch where your kid is going, watch who your kid's friends are, because some people may be bad influences to your child and you don't even know because you're always working night shifts or you're not really involved in what's going on in their life, or you don't go to their parents' evening, you don't know their dynamic. Look at what your kid does in their free time. If they stop going to hobbies that they usually do, if they're quieter than they usually do, pay attention to them. Just be attentive to your child and have that open discourse with them about mental health, and let them know that it's not shameful to go through problems, and be open with your own mental health issues as well. So they can understand, lead by example. That is the main thing that I've learned from today.
So today's been quite good because I think I can kind of look at my own mental health, look at the mental health of my own family, be able to discuss with them openly and how they can approach their own mental health as well. Because even, as I said earlier, I work in mental health, and not all the time I would recognize mental health in my own family. There's that denial as well, that maybe it's not affecting me or it's not affecting us. And I think after today, I'm able to go back home and call my parents and say, you know, this is this or this is that. Have you thought about this? And which is something I probably wouldn't have done before, even though I work in mental health, which is a bit strange.
When people have mental health problems, particularly if they get to the point where things are, they're particularly distressed, or their safety or other people's safety might be in question, somebody might require an admission, so they might need to be on a ward where they're surrounded by staff 24/7. There's various professionals of different backgrounds who are there to kind of offer help and support. So inpatient wards are essentially the place that people go to. Originally it was the old asylums, but now we've kind of moved away from that kind of way of working to a more, people are in their communities, be able to access more, round-the-clock support when necessary, and hopefully not for too long a period of time.
In relation to transgenerational trauma, we have learned a lot from African psychology, from Judaic psychology over many years. In fact, a lot of African scripts, a lot of Judaic scripts have told us about the impact of generational trauma from the forefathers. Now, in neuroscience today and in epigenetics, to put it simply, the question is, can you experience trauma and that not impact you? Can you experience trauma and that not physiologically, psychologically, genetically impact you? Now that's a question we need to consider.
So we value all of those protected characteristics within everything that we do. We are your police force, so we need to communicate in ways that our communities understand. We need to represent our communities so that we're representative of who we are and what we are policing, and we need to be alive to people's mental health or mental ill health. So if somebody's going through a mental health crisis, for example, us adopting a stop and search, we need to be adaptive to how we implement that stop and search, how we explain why we are doing what we are doing, because it could be that somebody, for example, in mental health crisis has got a knife on them. But we need to protect us as police officers, we need to protect the public, and we need to protect that individual. That is the end goal, is to get that knife away from where it shouldn't be and keep everybody safe.
Each child is ultimately an individual and a personality that is made up of the people from the lineage that child has come from. In order to help that child realize their best potential in life and understand what a wholesome family unit is, we need to study their strengths, their weaknesses, help guide their strengths, build on their strengths, and ultimately develop their weaknesses. The world is not a happy place, but home has to be a happy place, as it should be for a child, for development, for growth, and through that we can help facilitate a healthy, wholesome individual that can tackle the darkness of life.
It shows a lot of us are in more healthier relationships.
Exactly. So it's more. There is a reason why they're doing this.
Yeah, there's an outside influence pushing that narrative.
Yes.
100%. Yeah, that's
and because if you have children growing up in that and listening to that music.
Impressionable.
Yes.
That's it. Then that's it. It's finished. If you're not getting the discipline from home, let's get something there for someone.
Because that's not there, for example, you've got the CD, you know, me and you're just banging the CD.
Yeah.
When you don't love your hair, it means you don't love yourself. When you don't love yourself, it means that you have identity issues. Those identity issues stemming from the way you are perceived. It leads to anxiety. If a black woman does not have her hair done or does not have access to, for example, a good wig, she feels like she can't go out. She feels like she can't be exposed. She feels like she does not look representable. If you can't look yourself in the mirror and love what you see and let everybody else love you, that means you're not well. That means you struggle with beauty dysmorphia, body dysmorphia, and identity dysmorphia as well.
The acceptance of my sexuality, I can only really speak in terms of outside of my family. Like my chosen family here in Sheffield, we speak very freely to each other because we don't need to preface ourselves or our experiences because we know that the others will understand. And even if they don't get it from not having our same kettle of fish of experiences, they will get it simply from the fact that they've had to also create their chosen family because their blood family refuses to see them. Now, I hope that one day, I mean, I know if my mum puts my name in Google, she might find out all of this. And that is a real fear of mine. I'm proud, out loud and proud in Sheffield. But when I go back home, I have to revert to being that good Christian girl.
To all my young people who are struggling with their mental health, I would say that, first of all, find somebody that you can trust and talk to, because if you don't tell anyone your problems, you can't get help. And that's the main thing. People need to be aware that you're struggling so they can help you. Also, I would say that make sure your parents are aware as well, because it might seem hard for them to talk to them, but your parents care and love you. So it's vital to let them know what's going on, or even a brother or sister, just someone that you can trust. That's the most important part. And if you can't trust anyone in your family and your family is a problem, talk to a school counsellor, talk to your personal tutor at university. There's other people around you that you can trust, that you can speak to. And that would be my main advice. Just that's the first step, open up. Or people that are trusted will be able to lead you to better resources and signpost you. But they can't do that if you don't say anything.
Everybody stood up. Everybody stood up and did their bit, did their part, which obviously took the pressure off of me, but just in terms of how they were supporting people in the room. It wasn't just about, helping to serve the food and all that. It was about supporting people in the room emotionally. Based on people's comments, that's the only thing I can base how well the day went. It was words like incredible. Several people said it was the best conference they have ever been to in their lives. Several people said that it's changed their lives. Some people came and said, "You've given me food for thought. I'm leaving here a different person." Based on those comments, brilliant.